series, I meet extraordinary Australians who tell me their fascinating stories while I paint their portrait.
I was able to be the person who I am.
He was a really beautiful little boy.
My challenge is to capture their character and put it on the canvas. The portrait is theirs to keep, so I want them to like it.
Oh,
That's me.
ugh.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
I love this.
Welcome to Anne's Brush with Fame. Kurt Fearnley is one of the most successful athletes our country has ever produced. Since getting his first racing wheels at 13, he's won more than 40 marathons, bagged over a dozen medals at the Paralympics, and even crawled the Kokoda Trail. I want to go back into his childhood and find out where Kurt gets his unwavering self-determination.
I'm terrified. I have no idea where this conversation's going to go. I'm nervous and excited about seeing the end result. Arne is he is an extremely talented guy. I love his work, and I'm nervous about looking at it and going, that's incredible, and saying really positive things about a picture of me.
Kurt is often described as a larrikin, but he's also the type of bloke who dives straight in with a never-say-die attitude. I want to capture his confidence and belief, but also his humour and warmth. He's a champion in every sense of the word, and that's what I want to get across in this painting. Hey, good to see you again,
Hey, mate,
Kurt.
you too. It's been too long.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Here's the stage.
This is it.
Sounds good. It's no Kokoda, but I'll give it give it a crack. Can I leave that one with you?
Yeah, sweet. Awesome. The first time we met, Kurt, you and I having lunch with the Queen.
Yeah. How did that happen?
How did that happen? And Jeffrey Rush was there, Bart
Yeah.
Cummings, and what did you talk to the Queen about?
You know what? Bart Cummings said, we don't speak about this again.
Yeah.
Every conversation you've got is between you and the Queen.
Let's go right back to the start. You were born in 1981. Take me back there.
Well, my memory of 81 is a bit sketchy. But that period when my family were first introduced to disability, I was the youngest of 5 kids. They had no idea what was on the way until I arrived. I'm one in every... There's been one a year, really, since me in New South Wales with lumbar sacralogenesis. It's unknown what causes it. It's potentially linked to gestational diabetes, but it's really, you know, toss of a 100,000-sided coin or something. When I was being born, they broke both of my legs to get me out, so I was in a lot of pain as well. They rushed me down to Sydney and said, name him quickly because it's hard to name a child if you have lost him.
Oh, right, name you. Give him a name.
Give me a name, yeah.
Whilst he's still here with us.
Yeah. And then, because my family weren't very financial, you know, like growing up in the bush, 4 kids at home already, I think that people saw that it's going to be a pretty tough road, and they offered them on multiple occasions ways out, that there were facilities that could look after me.
So the doctors, some of them were saying...
They heavily recommended that I lived in an institution. I actually got brought home for the first time. It was after a couple of weeks, and Mum's brought me into the house, and it was after midnight. My oldest brother got out of bed and he walked over to meet me for the first time. And Mum undid me and showed Jace my legs, and he just, I don't like it, you know, because what is it? And I think Mum just said, that's your youngest brother, and you know, we're gonna figure it out, and we figured it out. They had a fear that I would be someone that watched life, and they had a fear that I wouldn't be someone that would be in it. And they instilled in me to this day that life's about getting your hands dirty. Whether that's crawling through a paddock, whether it's climbing over fences, whether it's, you know, chasing rabbits or crawling around after the brothers, playing footy and cricket and swimming in the Belubula River that goes through Karkor, whatever it may be, it's about ripping it apart and seeing where it ends.
Karkor is a town of around 200 people in central west New South Wales. Kurt is a third-generation local. Growing up, Kurt was treated just like everyone else. He was embraced by this tiny town and included in everything. When you started school, they suggested that maybe you had to go to a different school.
My principal just refused to let that happen. So he demanded to make sure that we've had the brothers and sisters, the aunties and uncles, the grandparents, we're having Kurt as well. So he stood up for me when I couldn't fight for myself. You've got to get people with disabilities as much as possible next to their peers. And when you're one of 16 kids in a school, there's no hiding.
Yeah.
You don't go to the sports carnival and sit on the sidelines.
You actually went in just about every event.
I went in every event. So you get a point for events, and you wanted to bring a point for Karkor. I would do long jump, high jump.
How'd you go at long jump?
Oh, terrible. I got my first ever ribbon was in long jump. There were 5 people in my event. One person jumps and I'm done. Okay, second place. Another person jumps. I can't get that either. Gonna have to settle for third. The next person, tantrum, gone. Yes! Disqualification, I'm still in the game.
Yeah.
The next person ran, but really just walked over the plate and jumped about this far. And it was my turn, and I had my technique in my mind. Crawl, throw myself, land. Yeah, I made it about 45 centimetres or something, and I remember I got a third place. I think it was a green ribbon, and you know, I'd never won anything before, and I didn't think that I would ever win anything in sport. That day, I was pretty bloody proud.
In rugby league, you were like the fullback.
I was, yeah. I honestly believed that I was going to play rugby league forever. Yeah, as a kid, when my uncle was coaching New South Wales in Australia, you know, pulling on the green and gold as a kangaroo. That was who I was. That was our royalty back then.
And you believed it.
100%. I was the least effective footballer, but I had plenty of confidence.
Yeah.
And the old swinging arm across the ankles, it worked every single time. And I would just be lurking in the background, waiting for someone to overlook me. And then, you know, this arm span would come out of nowhere, and I would go in swinging. And I wasn't the best footballer, but I had a lot of fun. How's the painting coming along?
It's going good, mate. You got mate, you got model features. Are you like dead set? Has anyone ever told you that?
Oh, mate, yeah, sometimes.
What was it like to go to a big high school?
300 kids was in Blaney High. First time I really felt different. I ended up in this setting, and there were 30 kids in my year. None of them were family. That was everything. Everyone in Karkor was family. You know, it was just a bubble. Me getting out of my chair and crawling around and climbing trees and falling out of trees and, you know, just being me, it wasn't natural there. It was the first time I felt judged.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think anyone goes out of their way to make that an issue. It's set in the faces really that look at you. It's not a look of love or of complete acceptance. It's a look of, how does that work? Curiosity. And curiosity's fine, you know, but when you're used to just looks of support and love and acceptance, curiosity can be terrifying.
Yeah. There was a teacher at school who introduced you to wheelchair racing.
Yep. Well, introduced me to sport how it's meant to be. So she put my peers in wheelchairs. She put my my family in wheelchairs. She brought out about 20 chairs and she showed me sport. Sport's even playing field.
Wow, so she organised for 20 chairs.
20 chairs to put my able-bodied peers into them.
Just so now you're competing in the chairs.
Now I'm Michael Jordan.
Oh, for a
So-
teacher to do that.
Yeah, well...
So awesome. What's that teacher's name?
Dicko, her name is Mrs. Dixon. She doesn't like to refer to it, speak to it, acknowledge it. It was just, it's a phone call she made for someone who obviously was wanting more.
It was Mrs. Dixon who saw Kurt's potential and desire to compete. And compete he did. Kurt's list of sporting achievements is extensive. In the prestigious 2017 Ausday 10K Classic, Kurt set a world record.
Kurt Fearnley does it again, the Ausday 10K champion for a record-breaking 11th time.
He's represented Australia in 5 Paralympics, raced in more than 60 marathons and won 41 of them. And it all started when his hometown of Kokoda sent him to America to compete. I want to explore that trip to USA. So you're 14 and the town has bought you 1 ticket.
When we found sport for the first time, 200 people raised 10 grand in about a week. My mum and dad protested, tried to stop them, and the town just said that it's got nothing to do with you. It's between us and the boy. And they raised 10 grand 1 week. They bought me a racing wheelchair. They bought me a ticket to the US. I landed in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I met normality. Not normality in the Fearnley family. I always felt normal as one of my family, but normal in the rest of life. I wasn't a kid with a disability. I was a kid with 500 other wheelchairs competing in this one track meet, all of them teenagers, all of them with this real common theme of being so different to everybody and being completely fine with it. When Kokoda invested in me at that point in time, they told me that I'm not fragile, I'm not a burden, I'm strong, I'm valued, and that I can be whoever I want to be, and they're going to be there to make sure I get there. And that, when you're told that you are that person and that this is the whole community want this, it's hard to get off that path. It's hard to stop.
Kurt gives a lot of credit to people who went out of the way to help him become the man he is today. He's full of gratitude and there's a wonderfully gentle sort of wisdom about him. I want to get all of that into this painting. You've had a massive career, Kurt. Is there one race that stands out?
Hard to pick one. The first time that you win is unbelievable. The first time that you are the best in the world is an amazing experience. It is...
Take me back there, Kurt.
Athens, pushing into Panathinaikos Stadium. Mum and Dad are there, cousins are there. People that mean the most to you, the world, are at that finish line. I pushed into that stadium with nothing left in me, and across the line, your family are there, and there's tears and just joy. And if you've got the people there that mean the most to you in the world to experience that, it's unforgettable.
What did it mean for your mum and dad to see their son win gold?
Mum and Dad had never got on a plane before, and to see the same kid that they were told 20 years earlier that, don't take him home, the same kid to enter in that stadium 4.5 minutes in front of everyone, to hear the Australian anthem while someone stands up and puts a gold medal around their neck. You see your mum just overwhelmed with joy and happiness and tears, and it's an unbelievable moment.
Yeah. That's why when my mum calls me up and says that was great, Arn, it still feels to me like winning some massive award, Doesn't matter how old we get, we love it.
Mate, I can 100% tell you there'll be a phone call made at the time that this show finishes, and I'm going to ask them what they think. Same thing I do every time. And at the end of the day, that's who I am, you know. As long as they're happy, as long as mum and dad can look at me in a way with pride, then I'm doing all right. I know, mate, buddy. I hate getting emotional on telly. Yeah.
I was very nervous with girls when I was a young guy. Were you the same, or?
Yeah. Well, like, for a lot of time, I never thought that I would have a relationship, really. When you're at school and you're year 7 and year 8 and you're seeing your mates, you know, get a girlfriend, and you're always just thinking that's not going to happen. I felt different, really different.
What helped you go from, I don't think I'll ever have a girlfriend, to thinking maybe?
Well, just when I first started seeing other kids in chairs, and there were relationships going on there, and there were gorgeous girls in wheelchairs, I just started to get confidence, really, and acceptance within myself. It was about me figuring out and being cool with being different. But being around my community gave me a lot more confidence. And seeing that all take place, seeing guys in chairs be bold and strong and be brash, and they just ripped life apart.
Yeah.
And they had a brashness and a confidence about them that I never saw back home in anyone.
Yeah.
And, you know, after a while, I became pretty brash and pretty confident, and that just no longer became an issue.
In 2010, Kurt married his long-term girlfriend Sheridan, and 4 years later, they had baby Harry. What was it like to hold your baby boy?
Mate, it's pivotal in life, I reckon. As in, there's before it and then there's after it. There's the moment where responsibility was set around 20%, and then there is responsibilities now being dialed up to 100. And, you know, I got a lot more emotional, I guess. Everything's more emotional. One of the most enjoyable races was a win in New York Marathon 6 months after Harry was born. Sheridan and Harry were on the finish line waiting for us. And it's my favourite photo. There's this photo with Harry in Sheridan's arms, and he's smiling, he has no idea what's going on. And he'll never remember it. I'll never forget it. It's one of the best races, one of the best times I've had in my craft, you know, on my stage.
While Sheridan was pregnant, was there any concern for Harry's health?
No, there was my own caution, which is a ridiculous caution. You know, I loved seeing him. I loved seeing his spine. I loved, you know, seeing that everything was in one piece. I would not have a hesitation of bringing another kid with a disability into the world, because disability isn't ugly, you know, it's not fragile. Disability is a natural part of the human experience. I can guarantee one thing: everyone at home, we're going to lose what we've got. And I think that your mobility, how you walked to get to that couch or how you got to this spot right there, is the most boring part about you.
Notice you've got massive hands, and when you do that, you've got a massive wingspan, mate.
Mate, I would have been a big kid. I would have been 6'5"-ish. All my brothers are big, and...
Do you ever go there in your brain, like what I would have been?
Yeah, I remember thinking about it previously, as in there are moments where I would have loved to have packed into a scrum with my brothers, seeing them play footy. And Jason actually, he tried to get me to do it. Adam and Jason were playing for the Carcaw Crows, and Jace was captain, and he had this whole plan that he wanted me to one play from a scrum, sub in as hooker, front row, and just pack one scrum. And he wanted me to do it, but I was too self-conscious to let it happen, and I have that as a regret. I would have loved that moment, but I could have had that moment. It was an opportunity that, and a moment that I chose to walk away from, and I could have done it whether I was able-bodied or not. There's very few occasions that I think that if you could change me, I wouldn't be stronger. Because at the moment I know that strength isn't your legs. Strength isn't your mobility, not the muscle around the bone. Strength is your ability to be able to adapt, your ability to be able to access your resilience. It's your ability to believe in yourself that you could make it through tomorrow. And that's been built in me, but I wouldn't have got there. I wouldn't have got there unless I experienced the life and the bumps and bruises that I have.
You crawled Kokoda, 96 kilometres. How hard did it get?
One day on that track was as hard as anything I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
It was just damaging. Every day you knew you had to rip yourself apart. Every day you knew that the next day you were going to be just toast.
So at night, it's not like, it's like, oh my God, tomorrow.
Tomorrow. And that was the worst part, stopping till when I went to sleep, I reckon. That was probably the hardest part.
Really?
Yeah, because then all the doubts and all the fear and all the just caution would be there. And it's that battle, right? It's the constant battle of trying to drag the fear and the thoughts from being, caution, from being down into being that certainty of that will happen.
What made you decide to do that?
We did it as a fundraiser for Movember and Beyond Blue, and we always push the idea that it's all right to ask for help. And if you can ask for help, if you're comfortable with your vulnerabilities, then a guy in a wheelchair will think he can crawl the Kokoda Track.
Do you consider yourself lucky?
Luckiest guy in the world. Luckiest. How good's life? If I was given the choice to either have the way that I feel like I know what life is right now, or I could walk, I think I've found this place in life that I'm lucky to be in, and it's because of the disability. And that's why I can't see disability as fragile or ugly or a broken part of life. It is a harsh reality for a lot of people. It's hard. But that's a little bit of community can alter that. A responsibility with us as a community to adjust and allow the most vulnerable experience life, then, we're all doing a lot better.
Well, you wouldn't have met Sheridan, perhaps, or...
I would have found her. Yeah, she probably wouldn't have liked me, but I would have found her.
Well, Kurt, I am just going to finish off your great cheekbones.
Mate, I'm a good sword. Just, you've been getting my text messages, haven't you?
I'm just going to finish off a few more things. So take a little break, and then mate, when you come back, I want to show you the Kurt Fearnley.
I'm terrified. I have no idea what he's going to capture. I have no idea what he hopes. I think Arn's work is great because he sees or he feels something in a person that he's familiar with, and he puts that onto canvas. So I want to see the reflection of what he sees in what I do.
Kurt has had an amazing life, but it hasn't been without challenge and a lot of hard work. Kurt's family and the great people from Karkor helped mould a man for whom anything is possible. He's a top bloke, but also a tough one. And I want to get that balance right. I think I'm sort of there. Let's get him in. Come on back, Kurt. All right, Kurt, so what I've tried to get is the champion, the strength, the courage, all of that, but also the larrikin bloke, the good bloke. So I want to get the combo of those two. And I think I might have gotten there. So close your eyes.
Righto.
And don't open them until I tell you to.
You know what? I usually cheat at this stage, but I'm actually eyes closed.
All right. All righty, Kurt, open up.
Oh, I don't really know what to say. Huh? I'm a bit taken back, mate. Yeah, I'm a good-looking bloke. Hey, that's bloody. It's not. That's beautiful, mate. This is coming home.
Oh, mate, so this is going up on the wall?
It's Fearnley's household.
In the Fearnley household.
It's different to how I thought. Usually you portrayed rougher or... This is just... It's nice, mate. You like it?
Yeah, I do, actually. I don't think I've ever done the perfect painting. Like, I'd always want to go back in and muck around, you know?
Yeah.
So, but I'm pretty happy with this one.
Yeah, the perfect race for me wasn't the result, but how I felt during it.
Based on that, Kurt, I reckon this is probably my best painting because I've enjoyed this process, mate, very, very much. So that's a gold medal for me.
It's one of those things where you just have no idea how it's going to come back, and it's so different to what I thought it would be. But it's really bold, and I'm a little taken aback.
You know those rare people, when you spend time in their presence, it energises you. That was so uplifting. Kurt was born with a disability, but for me, he has more ability than just about anyone I've ever met.